The 2021 NFL Draft edge rusher class is a very deep and talented class, but unlike recent years, there's a debate for who the top-ranked prospect should be. One name at the top of the list is Miami's Gregory Rousseau, a talented edge rusher who opted out of last season, surrounding his future with questions and skepticism. Today, I'm going to attempt to answer some of these questions and decloud the skepticism by bringing you guys my scouting report for Gregory Rousseau. Stick around for the rest of the video as I dive into Rousseau's film, statistics, and off-the-field personality. Hello everybody, my name is Jack Smith and I'm trying to bring you guys the cold, hard truth on everything football. If this interests you, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on any NFL or college football content. Before we get into my scouting report though, make sure you leave a like on the video and leave a comment with your opinion of Gregory Rousseau so we can all have a discussion down in the comment section. Without further ado though, let's get into my personal scouting report for Rousseau, starting with the film. For obvious reasons, people are conflicted when it comes to Rousseau's film. On one hand, he is an athletic freak, built like a 6'7" oak tree with logs for arms, who can keep tackles at a distance with his length, while also overpowering guards and centers with his strength. On the other hand, however, Rousseau also looks like the raw pass rusher that he is, because he's relatively new to the position. Rousseau lacks an elite first step, and the technicality that nearly all the league's top pass rushers possess, and will need to work on developing an arsenal of pass rush moves and counter moves in order to succeed in the NFL. While there are many plays in which Rousseau simply out-physicals a lineman, there are equally as many plays in which a lineman simply out-technicals him. It is hard to figure out what to think about Rousseau as a whole, but that's something I'll cover at the end of this video when I give my overall opinion. For now, let's look at some specific plays so I can further show you what I saw on film. In this play against Florida State, Rousseau lines up on the inside of the defensive line, which shows you just how versatile he can be, and you see he wins completely off his physical tools, blowing past multiple linemen and just getting to the quarterback and making a great play. That's just a freak of nature type play right there, and also the fact that he's able to, at his size, line up at D-tackle, nose tackle on the edge shows you his versatility. You see this again against the University of Virginia, where Rousseau lines up on the center and simply overpowers his way to the quarterback. Rousseau is a physical monster whose size allows him to compete against every offensive lineman on the line and allows his defensive coordinators to put him anywhere they would like, and he can still get to the quarterback and make disruptive plays. Like I mentioned before, when he's on the edge, he plays with enough length where he can beat tackles, but he's also big enough and strong enough that when he lines up on the inside, he's able to beat guards and centers. Here's a play where we get to see Rousseau on the edge. It's a 4th and 1, and he screams off the edge to make a huge 4th down stop, stopping the running back in his tracks. Obviously fast enough to get around the edge, but strong enough to hold the running back from getting that simple 1 yard, a big turning point in the game, a big play, and it just shows you that he can play on the edge, and you've already seen he can play on the inside. Like I mentioned before, however, while there are plays where his physical traits allow him to make great plays, there are also sometimes he overly relies on his physical ability, and that causes him some problems. In this same game against Virginia, Rousseau's lined up on the edge, but immediately gets too vertical going up against the tackle. He opts to win with his length instead of winning with speed, bend, or pass rush moves. And unfortunately, that's something that you see kind of often from him. And I know it's got to be tough standing at 6'7" to not get so vertical, but that's just a problem. When he has these physical traits, you see that sometimes he relies on them too much. Before we get into the next play, also speaking about his frame, I do think he can add some weight. I think you see in the film here that he's so tall that often he looks a little bit lanky and looks like he can add some weight. And as a player that can already line up on the inside or on the edge, if he can add just a little bit more mass, he could be even more dangerous as a pass rusher, and that's pretty scary. But getting back into it, in this play against Florida State, you see Rousseau go into the teeth of the offensive line, and he simply just goes in vertical and tries to push his way through instead of trying to maneuver his way through or use a bag of tricks. Unfortunately, then he just gets enveloped by the offensive line, and he's rendered useless. Pushing through linemen usually works for Rousseau, but that will get tougher in the NFL, and plays like this show you that he needs to develop some tricks against offensive linemen. Yes, he's powerful, yes, he's big, yes, he's strong, but he needs to have some moves for these situations to get past these offensive linemen because he's not going to be able to push through everyone in the pros. On film, he is dominant and he can take over games, and that is scary considering the technical improvements he still can make as he moves to the NFL. The blueprint for him to grow and improve is obvious. The question is, will he be able to? And that's something I'll cover in the overall opinion at the end of this video. But until then, let's talk about the stats to see if we can uncover more about what Rousseau is like as a prospect. Rousseau has only played one real full season because he was injured his first season and opted out of his third season to prepare for the draft. but the one season we did see was phenomenal statistically. Rousseau led the ACC in both sacks and tackles for loss, racking up 19.5 tackles for loss and 15.5 sacks to go along with 2 forced fumbles. He was actually second in the country in sacks with 15.5, trailing only Chase Young, which I have to admit is some pretty great company to be in. This is some tremendous production given he only started 7 games, and it just shows you that he knows A, how to get into the backfield, and B, how to actually finish plays when he gets there. And obviously, while the film is the most important part of this scouting report, this production and these stats serve as a shocking point of reference. So now we've gotten through what we see from Rousseau on film and what we see on the stat page. Let's get into what we see off the field. The main thing off the field with Rousseau, and the thing that people will talk about from now until the draft, and will really be the biggest question surrounding his draft profile, is he opted out of this last season to prepare for the NFL draft. And while many people will say that this is a negative and it just shows that Rousseau is trying to capitalize off his one last year, there's actually a lot more that goes into it. Rousseau didn't just opt out to help himself prepare for the NFL draft. He actually did it so that he could be around his parents who are frontline workers. They're COVID-19 frontline workers, and he opted out so that he would still have the ability to be around them and to help them out when necessary. This shows you that instead of being a player who's trying to capitalize off 1 year and skip his season with his teammates to prepare himself for the NFL draft, he's actually a stand-up young man who wants to be around his parents, and he's a good son and a good person. Also, I think that opting out gives Rousseau a lot of benefits because he will be able to work with a coach over the offseason to develop those tools that I was talking about when we talked about the film. He obviously has the physical ability to beat tackles and to beat guards and centers. He obviously has that drive and the motor that we already see. He doesn't need to test it out on the field with the team. He needs to be with a coach working on some of these moves, and now he has an entire offseason to do that. Also, personality-wise, you know that Rousseau has to be coachable. Switching positions from a wide receiver and a safety to defensive end and being able to move that seamlessly and learn so much, you know he must be coachable. You know he must be willing to adapt to change, and that's everything that you want if you're putting a first-round pick into a guy. So now that we've laid everything out, let's get into my overall opinion so I can answer the biggest questions surrounding Rousseau and give you guys what I actually think. Rousseau is a conflicting prospect because of how much he still has to learn technically, but in the end, when it comes down to it, he's still a shockingly young 20-year-old edge prospect who's only played the position for a couple years, but somehow still managed to learn and produce at a very high level. So to bring the video full circle and give you guys my final opinion on Gregory Rousseau, I do believe in him and I am confident that he has what it takes to go and become the best edge rusher in this draft class. He has all the physical tools in the world, and he's obviously a good, coachable young man. And the only knock on him was his technical ability, which I now believe he's had a year to go learn the technical aspect of the position, so I am confident that he will be able to develop that arsenal of pass rush moves that many wish he had. That's all I got for you guys in this video. That's my final opinion on Gregory Rousseau, my full scouting report. I want to hear what you guys think down in the comment section. I really want to converse with you about what you think of Rousseau as a prospect. So go down, leave a comment letting me know what you think. As well, also, let me know what prospect I should do next. This is a series that we're doing in which we scout a ton of prospects and bring you guys the cold hard truth on what we think about them. So let me know also down in the comment section which prospect I should make a scouting report for next. Also, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe for more NFL and college football content. But thank you guys so much for watching this episode, and I will see you next time.